Hello there and welcome. I'm Inga and today I'm going to teach you how to create this baby blue eucalyptus using crepe paper. So baby blue eucalyptus is a really popular green to include in bouquets and arrangements. It's got this really lovely sort of dusty bluish gray green color and the shape of the stem with these leaves that sort of spiral around each stem, they provide a really nice textural element to bouquets and arrangements. And if you have a live plant, it also smells really, really nice. In today's video, I'm going to show you step by step how to create a baby blue eucalyptus sprig of your own. So let's just take a moment and go over the materials that I'm using today. I've got a few different papers. So this is heavy German crepe in dark green, and I've painted it ahead of time. So I do show this painting process step by step on my Patreon page for my Patreon members. If you are interested in learning more about that, I'll put the link below. In addition to learning how to paint this paper, you get access to dozens of full-length tutorials with templates. So check out the link below if you're interested in that. As I mentioned, this has been painted on one side and it's also been stretched out. So it's been painted and stretched. So this paper is for the leaves. For the stem wrap, I'm using this Italian 180 gram paper in mint green. 565 is the color number. You could use any green that you like, any weight that you like. It doesn't have to be the heavy crepe. I would recommend using a green that is a little bit of a contrast to the paper you're using for the leaves. So this will make a really nice contrast. The stem is going to look a little bit lighter, and I know that this paper will actually fade over time, and in this case, I think that's going to look really cool. So it'll fade to sort of a dusty tan green color as this sits around in my studio being exposed to light. Now, if you don't have these exact papers, no worries. Just choose greens that you like. You can still make a beautiful eucalyptus sprig using slightly different colors. I think cardstock would also make a good choice for the leaves if you'd like to use that. I'll be using some 18 gauge wire here for the stems. I've also got this Posca paint marker in white. Now, you don't have to use a paint marker. You could use a little bit of acrylic paint and a paintbrush to do this detail. I'll be creating this little white spot on the very base of each leaf using this paint marker. I've also got tacky glue. I've got a glue stick. I'm going to be laminating 2 layers of my leaf paper together with the glue stick, or you could use tacky glue for that as well. I've also got some scissors here and wire snips, and that's all we need to create this baby blue eucalyptus. Let's get started. All right, so the first thing I want to do is create some double layer paper with my painted crepe to make a whole bunch of eucalyptus leaves. So you can see here that these leaves are a little bit stiff and they really hold their shape really well. That is due to the fact that I'm using this double layer paper that I'm going to make with glue. It's really nice to have these sturdy leaves. I don't have to put a wire in the center of each leaf. They hold their shape really well. If they do get sort of banged around, you'll be able to straighten them out pretty easily. If I just made these with one layer of crepe paper, they would be much more delicate and they would get damaged much more easily, and you might need a wire at the base to really help them keep their shape. So I'm going to take my paper here. I've got it folded in half. I want that painted side facing out. I'm going to go ahead and make a crease here to kind of help guide me when I'm putting the glue on, to find the halfway point. So I'm just doing this large piece of paper all at once. You can choose to do smaller sections of paper if that's easier for you. There will be several sizes of leaves that we're cutting out, and I'll show you what they look like in just a moment here. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these paper halves together using this Uhu glue stick. I love this brand. It's a permanent glue stick, very high quality glue. If you don't have a nice permanent glue stick handy, you could use tacky glue and just brush it on in a thin layer or spread it on. You could also use something like a book binding or collage paste. Yes, brand paste is a nice one. You could even use Mod Podge to glue your layers together. Keep in mind with some of those glues, you'll want to let them dry for a little bit before cutting out. With this glue stick, the moisture level is just at that perfect amount where even when the glue's still damp, I can easily handle the paper and cut out my leaves. So I'm going to go ahead here and just apply a nice generous coating of glue stick all over this half of my paper here. And I want to get all the way to the edges, get some glue on there. So when I apply the glue, I'm running my glue stick in the same direction as the paper grain. I don't want to go this way or any other angle because that's really going to stretch the paper out. It might even tear the paper. I want to follow the paper grain. All right, my paper is nice and gluey. I've got a coat from edge to edge. This looks great. I'm going to go ahead and fold this over and just get it positioned, and I'm just going to start by gently pressing it down just to get it into place. And now that it's kind of into place, I'm going to go ahead and just run my thumb or the heel of my hand, or you could use a brayer or something like that. And again, I'm going along the same direction as the paper grain, smoothing it together, pressing it down, really getting these layers of paper stuck together. All right, so now I've got my double layer paper. Sometimes this is called doublet. Sometimes we refer to this process as lamination when I've got 2 layers of paper and the glue in between. So I've got this nice big piece of painted paper, and both sides now have the painted color, and it's going to be nice and thick, perfect for making my eucalyptus leaves. I'm going to go ahead and just trim off this edge here that's a little bit uneven. And now this is ready to use. All right, so I have a template here. I've got 5 different leaf sizes. If you are a Patreon member, head on over to my actual Patreon page. You'll be able to access this template with the video. If you're not yet a member, but you would like to be, I have a link below in the YouTube video description you can click on and get more info about joining my tutorial club. So just to give you an idea of the sizes here, this smallest one is about 1/2 inch tall and 1/4 inch wide, and that's about 1.5 centimeters tall and 6 millimeters wide. The largest leaf here is about 2 inches tall and 1.5 inches wide. And in centimeters, that's about 5 centimeters tall and a little over 3 centimeters wide. Now the dimensions on these leaves are not traced from nature or anything like that. I just estimated some intermediate sizes in between those two. So if you don't have the template, feel free to just make up your own leaves that are a mix of sizes, and you should still be able to make a really nice baby blue eucalyptus stem. All right, I'm going to start with cutting out my large ones, mostly because I can probably cut some of the smaller ones out from the scraps. So I'm going to go ahead and start out with 8 of these large leaves. I am going to kind of fold this up a little bit. I'm just going to go ahead and cut a strip of paper that's the right size for this leaf. I can stretch it out just a little bit here, and I'm just going to fold over a few pieces and cut them out at once. So I'm just going to cut out 3 here in my little stack. Save some time by stacking it up and cutting out multiples at once. All right, so I've got 3 leaves cut out. I've got some scraps here. I can probably get some of my smaller leaves cut from these scraps. All right, once I have several leaves cut out, I'm going to take my Posca paint pen or a paintbrush and white acrylic paint. And I'm just going to make a little blob right here where the narrow part of the petal base starts to get a little bit wide. I'll just go ahead and do that on all of these. I'm not too concerned with making any sort of perfect type of shape here. I just want an area of lighter color, lighter white. As it dries, it'll blend in a little bit to the paper. The area where it's going to join onto the stem, I just want that to be a little bit of a light color. That's one of the distinctive things about these baby blue eucalyptus leaves that I noticed when I was researching some photos of this eucalyptus variety. If you like, you can do the other side too. With this one, I just did the top of the leaf, figuring that the bottom wouldn't be very visible, but that's up to you if you want to do both sides or not. So when I cut out all of my leaf shapes, I'm going to do that to every size leaf except for this little baby one here. That one is not going to be quite open yet, so I'm just leaving that just the plain paper. But all of these other ones have that little white dot at the very base of the leaf. All right, I've got a bunch of leaves here all ready to go. So my smallest 2 sizes, I've got 2 each. The next one up, I've got 4. And then these 2, I have 8 each. So it doesn't really matter if you are using this exact number of leaves or not, but you do want to cut them in pairs. So you'll see here that I'm going to be attaching these leaves in pairs. And so you want at least 2 of each size or an even number of each size so that you can match it up with a leaf of the same size. So I've got my Italian 180 gram crepe here in the color that I want to use for my stem. I've got my 18 gauge wire. We're going to start putting this eucalyptus stem together. So I'm going to start by stretching out one of my stem wrap pieces. Stretch it out all the way. I'm going to apply some tacky glue here to the strip. And I'm going to go ahead and just start wrapping my stem wire a little bit. I want to cover that top edge of the wire completely. So I'm just going to kind of smear some of that glue around. I'm going to place my wire so that I've got a little corner here to tuck over, and then tuck over this edge, and then just kind of twirl it between my thumb and finger a little bit to get that started. So I just want to leave a little bit here, or cover a little bit at a time. I am actually going to go ahead and start attaching my first pair of leaves, and that is this tiny little pair of leaves here. I'm going to just cup the leaf a little bit by stretching that very center part. There's not much stretch left because I pre-stretched the paper, so you won't get a lot of shape, but you'll still be able to shape it a little bit. I'm just putting a dot of glue on the base of each one. I'm gonna stick one here. Oops, a little bit lower. I want to make sure that I'm going to be able to wrap the base of my leaf in with this stem wrap paper. And then the other one I'm just going to put directly across from the first one. It's okay if it closes up right now. I'll open it up a little bit in just a moment. And then I want to roll that stem paper so that it covers the base of these tiny little leaves. And then I'm going to go ahead and wrap downward a little bit. So I've got probably about a 1/4 inch or about 6 millimeters of stem wrapped before adding my next set of leaves. Now, the important part here is that I want to orient my next set of leaves so that they're perpendicular. So right here, they're across from each other. I need to turn my stem 90 degrees so that my next set of leaves is going to be perpendicular to these two. So I'll go ahead and get a little bit of glue here on the base of each of these leaves. This guy keeps flipping around. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that. I want to tuck the end of my leaf into where it's going to get wrapped by that stem paper. All right, I'm going to turn this over to the opposite side and place my next one. So you can see that this lines up with the profile of that first layer. And then I'm going to go ahead and just wrap my stem paper and wrap downward, keep going. Again, for these small leaves, I'm leaving maybe about 1/4 inch or 6 or 7 millimeters in between the layers. So if I bend these out, it's a little easier to see where I need to place the next ones. 2 of these. Probably going to need to add some fresh glue here onto my stem wrap as well. I'm going to want to attach my next layer the same orientation as that top layer and perpendicular to this layer. Do that, place the leaf, wrap that into the stem, place my next one directly across, and get that wrapped into the stem as well. So as I move down the stem, my spacing can get a little bit wider. So I'm going to go a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch, something like 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter in between the next set of leaves. And I'm going to go ahead and place this next layer. Get a little more glue on my paper strip. All right, and continue wrapping, and so on and so forth. So let's just take a quick review of this leaf pattern. So I've got the smallest ones here at the top, the next size this way, the next size this way, and then another pair going this way. And I'm just going to repeat that pattern all the way down until I use up my leaves. So depending on how big of a eucalyptus sprig you want, you may need more or less leaves. You can also choose to make them with all the smaller size or all the bigger size, whatever you like. You can see here on this finished branch that it extends down quite far, and I've gone ahead and added another stem over here to the side and included another pair where the stems join together. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue adding leaves until I use all of my piles up. All right, so I've started my largest leaves. I just wanted to do a little check-in here and just talk about a few things that you might run into. So sometimes when placing these leaves, especially with the bigger ones, I've noticed, when you go to start wrapping the stem, it'll cause this to maybe twist around to a spot that you didn't plan on. Now that one stayed pretty well, but as I go, occasionally I'll get a pair that they just want to kind of twist around as I put the stem wrap on. So they've kind of twisted a little bit more so that they line up with the pair above, and I want them to be, you know, twisted so that they are opposite angles from the pair above. So what I'm going to do before my glue dries, I'm just going to go in and sort of tug these around and reposition them. And you can do that for any of these as you go along. You might have to do it more than once because the paper will shift around a little bit as you wrap the stem. So just keep that in mind. You might want to take a moment as you're wrapping, take a pause, kind of look back at your previous layers and see if anything needs to be adjusted with the angle. I find that it happens pretty frequently that I have to kind of readjust things as I go. And remember, if your leaves don't line up exactly at 90 degrees from each other in between the layers, that's okay. You just want them to be sort of, you know, spiraling around. You don't want to just copy the same angle over and over again. All right, so I'm ready to add my last few pairs of leaves here, and then I'll finish up this stem. All right, now that all my leaves are placed, I can go ahead and either finish wrapping this with some more of my stem paper, and I would want to use several layers so that I can match the thickness right here. Or if I wanted to add another sprig coming off to the side, I would make a little sprig, maybe you know, with a few less leaves than this one, and just attach those wires together with more stem paper, and maybe put another set of leaves at that spot where the two stems come together. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and take a few more strips of my stem paper, stretch it out, and then wrap the rest of my stem. All right, my stem's all wrapped. I just want to take a moment and do a little bit of final shaping here to finish up my stem. So with these leaves, I like to kind of give them a little bit of a upward cup, and make sure that each leaf is bent down right here at the stem so that you can get a little glimpse of that white painted spot. So get that nice and open from the stem. Maybe curl it upward just a little bit with your fingers. And I'm going to go ahead and do that with each of my leaves. Super simple shaping. No need to get perfect with this. And that's good enough. So yeah, beautiful baby blue eucalyptus stem. Great for using in fillers, although a big bunch of this would be really beautiful just on its own. Let's take a look here with this other stem that I made earlier. So you can imagine how this might fill out an area of an arrangement, add some height, add some texture, whatever you like. So I hope that you try making some baby blue eucalyptus of your own. This makes a great filler. It's a fun and easy project. Feel free to experiment with different paper colors, or maybe try cardstock. That would also be a great option for this project. If you try making this one, let me know how it goes. Leave me a comment, tag me on social media with your photo. I would love to see it. I want to take a moment here at the end to thank all of my patrons, all of my Patreon members who are part of my tutorial club. Thanks to their monthly pledge, I'm able to create videos like this for you. If you're interested in joining, there's a link below. Check it out, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.